This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. All right, so I was thinking, and I love this fourth segment. Why? Because I get to give my thoughts about anything. So you know what we're going to do today in the fourth segment? Probably not going to take up the whole segment or anything like that, but you know what? We're going to talk some hockey. All right, believe it or not, hockey is going to get a quick mention on this podcast. And like I said, we'd never do it. It's not about teams or anything like that. It's about the way they market their game. All right, the way how they just really don't promote it well enough. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give my thoughts on it, Okay, so we'll do that. We'll probably make my picks for tonight's NBA games on the last segment too. And pretty much anything else that comes to mind, we'll talk about. All right, but this first segment, as we usually do, we're going to talk some NBA, talk about some scores, some games going on yesterday. I got a bunch of my picks wrong yesterday. Wasn't a good day as far as making them, but try to do better the next day as always. All right, and then for this second segment, we're going to be talking some NFL, primarily NFL draft talk. All right, we'll be talking about the quarterbacks primarily. All right, we might get some Le'Veon Bell in there, and then for the third segment, we're going to be talking. I'm drawing a blank. We're going to be talking NFL surprises and disappointments from this season. We're not going to, we will talk about Case Keenum a bit because that was a surprise. So, we'll be doing that. And like I said, for the fourth segment, we'll be giving my thoughts on the NHL, how they're really doing terrible as far as promoting the game. But I don't want to say too much about it. So, let's get started with yesterday's NBA games, which was Wednesday night. All right. So, first up, we had the New Orleans Pelicans coming into Atlanta, just coming off of a big win against Boston in overtime. Anthony Davis scores 45 against them, had 16 rebounds, I believe, too. And against Atlanta, what does New Orleans do to build off of that? They lose. They lost 94-93. Anthony Davis only had 8 points in this one, 7 rebounds, shot 2 of 8, played 38 minutes in this one also. DeMarcus Cousins had 19 points, 14 rebounds. He shot 6 of 17. Rajon Rondo had 3 points, 6 assists, shot 1 of 4 in that game, only played 17 minutes. Drew Holiday, he had 22 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He shot 9 of 16. And Etuan Moore, decent game after a poor showing against Boston. He had 12 points, shot 5 of 8. As for those Atlanta Hawks, you had Dennis Schroeder with 13 points, 15 assists, shot 4 of 16. Kent Bazemore had shot 9 of 18, 20 points, 5 assists, did have shoot the game winner too over Anthony Davis also. So, the Pelicans could have pulled this one out, but just weren't good enough. And, the Pelicans might be the new Timberwolves, all right? The Timberwolves last few years had a lot of young talent, but just never really put it together. This year they're playing well, okay? And the Pelicans, they have talent on that team. You got two of the top 10 players on your team. Anthony Davis for sure, and I'm for sure putting DeMarcus Cousins in the top 10. And the Pelicans, like I said, they'll have a game against Boston where they play well and win, in Boston, mind you. And then the next day, like I said, they'll just play a team like Atlanta and boom. So they really need to find the consistency in order to finish as the 6th seed, or at least finish in that range. All right, next up, we had the Washington Wizards facing off with the Charlotte Hornets. If you remember from yesterday's podcast, I was talking about how I had no idea why Charlotte was favored. Like, it was just a point and all that, but why they were even favored in this game, I thought, Washington is clearly going to win. They're the better team. Obviously, Vegas knew something that I didn't. Charlotte blew out Washington 133-109. John Wall only played 24 minutes in this one, had 12 points, 9 assists, shot 5 of 11. But Bradley Beal played 28 minutes in this one. He had 26 points, shot 10 of 19, 4 of 6 from the three-point line. Otto Porter, that guy's just gone missing. He had 6 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. He shot 2 of 6. Mike Scott off the bench had 18 points, shot 7 of 10. And Kelly Oubre Jr. had 16 points, 5 rebounds, shot 5 of 9. As for those Hornets, you had Marvin Williams with 12 points. He shot 4 of 7. Kemba Walker, 19 points, 7 assists. He shot 6 of 15. Dwight Howard had 18 points, 15 rebounds, shot 7 of 13. And you had Michael Kidd-Gilchrist with 21 points, 4 rebounds. He shot 8 of 11. So like I said, making my pick yesterday, had no idea that Charlotte would do this. But like I said, Vegas knows more than I do, I guess. So yeah, once again, Charlotte blew out Washington 133-109. All right, as for the San Antonio Spurs, they headed into Brooklyn, and Brooklyn gave them a fight. San Antonio won this one 195. LaMarcus Aldridge had 34 points, 8 rebounds, shot 13 of 24. Pau Gasol had 13 points, 12 rebounds. He shot 5 of 8. Tony Parker had 8 points. He shot 3 of 12 off the bench. You had Patty Mills with 25 points. He shot 7 of 10 and 7 of 8 from 3. As for those Brooklyn Nets, you had Allen Crabbe with 20 points, 8 rebounds, shot 7 of 12. Tamari Carroll had 11 points, 10 rebounds. Poor shooting night from him. Only shot 3 of 9. And no one else, besides, I guess, Spencer Dinwiddie or Sean Dinwiddie. I can't remember his first name, but he had 9 points, 13 assists. He shot 3 of 13. Obviously, as you could tell, not a good shooting night from Brooklyn, but they hung around with a team like San Antonio. I know San Antonio's been missing Kawhi Leonard, but it's still the San Antonio Spurs. It's still Greg Popovich. So, I guess that's kind of promising to see that Brooklyn hung with them. All right, and you had the Detroit Pistons heading into Toronto. A lot of low-scoring games yesterday, too. Toronto won that one, 96-91. Tobias Harris had 12 points. He shot 4 of 13. Andre Drummond had 25 points, 17 rebounds. He shot 12 of 15. Avery Bradley, 19 points, shot 8 of 19. And Ish Smith, poor shooting night from him. Only 3 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 1 of 12 in the game. As for the Raptors, Jonas Valanciunas brought in 17 points with 16 rebounds, shot 5 of 12. Kyle Lowry, not a good shooting night from him either. 18 points, shot 5 of 14. And DeMar DeRozan brought in 17 points, shooting 7 of 15. Good little win for Toronto right here. Again, Detroit's just falling down. I think they need to blow it up eventually. They should trade Andre Drummond. Watch for Andre Drummond. No one's really talking about him as far as the trade deadline, but that might be a name right there. That might be someone right there that ends up getting moved at the deadline. So we'll see. I think that trade deadline is what, February 8th? Yeah, I think so. All right, that's for the Golden State Warriors. They headed into Chicago. Golden State won this one, 119-112. Kevin Durant had 19 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. He shot 6 of 15. Steph Curry, 30 points, 9 rebounds, shot 10 of 18, 6 of 11 from the three-point line. And Klay Thompson went off for 38 points, had 4 rebounds. He shot 12 of 22 and 7 of 13 from the three-point line. As for those Bulls, you had Lauri Markkanen, the rookie, with 11 points, 8 rebounds. He shot 4 of 12. Robin Lopez, 16 points, shot 8 of 11. Neither of the Lopez twins, they don't rebound at all. Like, those guys are near 7 foot, I'm pretty sure, and these guys cannot rebound to save their life, I feel. Zach LaVine had 5 points in this one, 3 rebounds. He shot 2 of 12. Chris Dunn had 16 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He shot 7 of 17. And Justin Holiday had 8 points, 6 rebounds. He shot 2 of 12 and 2 of 8 from the three-point line. All right. Oh, off the bench also, you had Nikolai Mirotic with 24 points, 6 rebounds. He shot 9 of 13. As for those New York Knicks, I picked them against the Grizzlies. I was wrong. All right. Grizzlies won this one 105-99. This game was in Memphis. For those Knicks, you had Kristaps Porzingis with 21 points, 9 rebounds, shot 8 of 19. Enes Kanter had 20 points, 9 rebounds. He shot 7 of 11. Courtney Lee had 18 points, shot 6 of 11. Off the bench, you had Michael Beasley with 18 points, 7 rebounds, shot 6 of 11 in that one. Again, I'm going to keep reminding you, watch out for Michael Beasley. Watch out for Michael Beasley for 6th man of the year. All right, watch out. Tim Hardaway off the bench had 16 points, 4 rebounds. He shot 5 of 10. As for those Memphis Grizzlies, you had JaMychal Green with 18 points, 13 rebounds, shot 6 of 15. Tyreek Evans had 23 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists, shot 9 of 21. And then you had Dylan Brooks with 17 points, 5 rebounds. He shot 6 of 11 in that one. Once again, the Grizzlies won that game 105-99. All right, another game I got wrong. Miami Heat headed into Milwaukee. Miami won 106-101. James Johnson had 9 points, 6 assists, 7 rebounds, shot 3 of 11. Josh Richardson had 14 points, 6 rebounds. He shot 6 of 16. Hassan Whiteside had 27 points, big game from him, 13 rebounds, shot 10 of 12. Goran Dragic had 15 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. He shot 6 of 13. As for those Bucks, you had Giannis Antetokounmpo with 22 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 6 of 15. Chris Middleton, 25 points, 5 rebounds, shot 11 of 22. And Eric Bledsoe and Malcolm Brogdon with bad games. Bledsoe had 11 points, shot 2 of 13, and Brogdon only had 8 points. He shot 2 of 7. As for the Bucks, watch out for Jason Kidd to possibly maybe get fired. All right, Bucks haven't really played as well as everyone thought they would. All right, they have a bunch of solid players. You got Antetokounmpo, Middleton, Bledsoe, Brogdon. This should be a team that's competing not with the Celtics or Raptors or Cavs, but I guess they should be middle of the pack type of team. I'm not sure where they are in the East right now. Let me double check that. But like I said, I mean, there's little talks in the Twitter sphere about maybe Jason Kidd is going to be out as the Milwaukee Bucks coach, whether it be this season, like during the season, or after. But right now, Milwaukee's currently in 7th, only a half game ahead of Detroit for that 8th seed. And let's see, they're 10.5 games back of Boston for the 1 seed. They won't be competing for that. And for the 4th seed, they're 3 games behind Miami. So, I mean, I'm not sure what's going on over there, but they should be playing a whole lot better than what they are right now. All right. And you had the Los Angeles Lakers. They headed into Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma City blew them out at 24, I believe it is, if Jesse does his math correctly. All right, Oklahoma City won this one 114-90. Julius Randle had 16 points, 3 assists, shot 8 of 11. Brandon Ingram came back, had 8 points, 3 assists, shot 3 of 7 in this game. Brook Lopez, 5 points, only 2 rebounds. Again, Lopez brothers do not rebound. Tyler Ennis, starting for Lonzo since Lonzo's been out still, had 9 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 4 of 7. And Kentavious Caldwell-Pope had 10 points. He shot 3 of 5. As for the Thunder, you had Carmelo Anthony, good shooting night from him. 27 points, shot 10 of 15, 4 of 6 from the three-point line. Paul George, not a good shooting night for him. Scored 13 points, had 5 rebounds, shot 5 of 14, 3 of 9 from the three-point line. Steven Adams, big game from him, 21 points, 10 rebounds, shot 10 of 12. Russell Westbrook took 22 shots, only made 8 of them. He had 19 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Andre Roberson was back in the starting lineup. He only played 17 minutes, but he did have 4 points, 4 rebounds. He made both of his shots, so I guess that's a plus right there because the guy probably the worst shooter in all of the NBA. All right. Let's talk about the Utah Jazz. They headed into Sacramento. I did not go to that game. If you listened yesterday, I said I was thinking about it, but didn't. Utah pretty much handled Sacramento with ease. Donovan Mitchell had 34 points, 3 assists, shot 4 of 19. Only hit 1 3 in the game too, so that's pretty impressive that he could put up 34 points without shooting too many threes or scoring too many threes, I guess you could say. Joe Ingles had 14 points, 4 assists, shot 5 of 8, 4 of 7 from the three-point line. Derek Favors, 14 points, 11 rebounds, shot 5 of 9. Off the bench, you had Rodney Hood with 25 points, 8 rebounds, shot 9 of 16. As for those Kings, Willie Cauley-Stein with 26 points, 10 rebounds, shot 11 of 18. The Kings might have something with Willie Cauley-Stein. He might be there. I think I'm going to go with Bogdan Bogdanovic as their best player, but Willie Cauley-Stein is up there, and I think they really do have something of value with Willie Cauley-Stein, so that might be their center of the future, but we got to wait and see because he's kind of off and on. All right, George Hill had 20 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 6 of 10, 4 of 5 from the three-point line. De'Aaron Fox played 36 minutes in this one, only shot 1 of 6 though, had 6 points, 4 assists. Bogdan Bogdanovic with 25 points. He shot 9 of 11, 6 of 6 from the three-point line, had 6 rebounds also. Definitely the Kings' best shooter on that team. Then you had Buddy Hield off the bench with 9 points, shot 4 of 7. Let's see, anyone else notable? No one else too notable. All right, so Kings right now, I think let me check the standings right here. They're currently 13-31, the worst record in the Western Conference, and they're tied with the Magic and Hawks for the worst record in the league. Kings might want to sit Randolph, might want to sit George Hill, and just pretty much just go with the young guys, and I guess hope that they develop, but also hope that you end up with that number 1 pick. Because like I said, I mean, they need like a game changer. All right, De'Aaron Fox is still young. He's not that guy right there. He's still got to develop. Willie Cauley-Stein, like I said, they might have something there. Bogdanovic, I think that's going to be a nice little piece going forward in the starting 5. So they need that one player, though. That's pretty much like a playmaking game changer that could pretty much help this team bring in wins and, I guess you could say, show that they have signs of moving towards success. Because like I said, like I've been saying, since 2006, I mean, the Kings really have done nothing. They wasted DeMarcus Cousins' years there. I mean, gave him 5 different coaches. Never really brought in solid players to build a team around him. And they just really need to do something because it's starting to get sad. All right, as for the final game of the night, we had the Denver Nuggets facing off with the LA Clippers. Clippers won this one 109-104. It was pretty close at the end, but Clippers managed to pull it out. Denver did have a chance when it was 104-106, I believe. Did have the ball with 10 seconds left, but they just couldn't get a shot off. Or actually, no, it was Will Barton. It was an ISO, and he pretty much just messed it up. So, like I said, Clippers won that one 109-104. Let's see. You had Mason Plumlee with 16 points, 14 rebounds. Nikola Jokic had 18 points, 8 rebounds, only 2 assists in this one. Shot 7 of 18. 1 of 8 from the three-point line. Will Barton had 17 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. He shot 7 of 15. Gary Harris had 19 points, 4 assists, shot 7 of 13. No Jamal Murray in this one. Let's see. Nothing notable off the bench. As for the Clippers, we had Blake Griffin with 20 points, 12 rebounds. He shot 9 of 19. Milos Teodosic. You gotta learn how to pronounce these foreign last names. He had 15 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 5 of 9. Lou Williams, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. He shot 6 of 18. And off the bench, we had Montrezl Harrell with 18 points, 8 rebounds, shot 6 of 10. And Wesley Johnson also had 15 points, 6 rebounds. He shot 3 of 9 off the bench. DeAndre Jordan missed yesterday, still out with a sprained ankle. Not sure when he's going to be back. Probably give him about another week or so, maybe. And Austin Rivers still out with a bruised heel. All right, so that's it for the games that went on yesterday. Like I said, in the fourth segment, we'll be making our picks for the games going on tonight. I think we got Philly playing Boston at 4 o'clock, and then we got a couple other games. I think Minnesota versus Houston, too. That's going to be another good game. So like I said, we'll be making picks for those games later on in the show. Next up, we're going to be talking the NFL draft. We're going to be talking quarterbacks primarily. And like I said, if we have time, we'll be talking Le'Veon Bell. Talk about maybe where he could end up if the Steelers just don't franchise him or don't give him an extension, because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. So let's just talk about it. Let's talk about the hypothetical. So like I said, we'll stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC podcast. I almost said podcast network, but I mean, this episode is brought to you by the GSMC podcast network, but this is the GSMC podcast. All right, last segment we went over the scores and stats and all that good stuff for the NBA games from last night, which was Wednesday night. All right, we'll be talking about tonight's games, which is Thursday night in the fourth segment. And for this one, we're going to do some NFL talk. All right, we're going to do some NFL draft talk. We're going to do some NFL draft quarterback talk. All right, we're also going to probably talk a little bit about Le'Veon Bell, because you know what? The Steelers don't like to pay players. They barely even paid Antonio Brown. Okay, so you know what? Let's just talk about the hypothetical on if Le'Veon Bell leaves. You know what? Let's start off with that. All right, let's start off with Le'Veon Bell, get him out the way, okay? He's already said that if the team was to franchise him, then he'd think about sitting out the season or retiring. I'm all for that plan. Not so much retiring. He said, too, that if he were to retire, I guess, take the season off and say he's retired, then he probably wouldn't come back. All right. If I'm Le'Veon Bell, don't retire, please. You help out a lot of fantasy teams, and he's still only 25, so I doubt he's going to retire, okay? So let's get that out the way. I doubt Le'Veon Bell's going to retire. All right, but I do think that if the Steelers do franchise him, which I think they probably will, then he's going to sit out the season. All right, and let's say that they don't franchise him and they don't give him that big contract. They just let him walk. All right, let's say that happens. Where does Le'Veon Bell go? All right, we're going to take this division by division, see who needs a running back, okay, and see where Le'Veon Bell would be a good fit. Let's see. Actually, we're not going to go division by division, because you know what? Cap space is a thing. All right, so let me see if I can find out each team's cap space and figure it out. But right now, off the top of my head, the 49ers would probably be the best fit for Le'Veon Bell if he were to be a free agent. Okay, imagine that. Imagine Le'Veon Bell paired with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo would get just... That'd be ridiculous if that happened. All right, if Jimmy Garoppolo somehow was able to have Le'Veon Bell as his running back. Okay, so I got it right here. All right, so right now, the 49ers are number one with the most cap space. Then you got the Cleveland Browns, the Indianapolis Colts, the Jets, the Bucks, the Vikings, Texans, Redskins, and Titans, and then the Lions as the top 10 teams with the most cap space. All right. I think if I'm looking at this whole thing right, 49ers currently got $108 million in cap space. You can get Le'Veon Bell. You can get a deal with Le'Veon Bell for that, without a doubt. All right. But you also got to take into account that you got to pay Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think they can still do both. All right. I'm sure you can get Jimmy Garoppolo, tell Jimmy G, hey, you want Le'Veon Bell? Take a little bit less money than what we were originally going to give you or what you were originally expecting. All right. Because if I'm the 49ers and I have the opportunity of getting Le'Veon Bell, I'm jumping right on that. All right. Goodbye, Carlos Hyde. Sorry, but Le'Veon Bell is extremely better. All right. Then you got a team like the Colts who need a running back, but Jim Irsay does not make smart football moves, so I don't see that happening. Okay. Cleveland Browns, I think that we're going to talk a little bit about them later on in this segment because we got to talk about them in the draft since they are going to take a quarterback, I'm almost certain, unless they end up trading for a guy like Alex Smith or maybe a Sam Bradford type, which I doubt they'll do. But as far as running back goes, I think they're going to take Saquon Barkley with the 4th pick in the draft. So, I mean, I really don't see Le'Veon Bell heading there. New York, I mean, they got a whole lot of other problems they got to fix. Running back is a need, so maybe that'd be a good fit. Maybe sign a guy like Le'Veon Bell, draft a guy like Baker Mayfield or Josh Allen if he's available, because I doubt that Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen will. I think the Jets currently got the 6th pick too. Tampa Bay, they need a running back, but I don't think they'll be. I don't think that they'll be looking for a guy like Le'Veon Bell. Minnesota, you still got Dalvin Cook coming back next year off his ACL injury. Texans already set. They got Lamar Miller. Washington Redskins, they don't really do stuff like that. Tennessee, I think they got their running back for the future in Derrick Henry. Detroit, they do need a running back, but, I mean, Le'Veon Bell with Detroit, that'd be a... They don't really run the ball too much in Detroit, though, at all. I mean, I guess you could say that's due to the fact that, I mean, they've had Theo Riddick and Amir Abdullah, and those aren't, like, premier running backs in the league or anything like that, but, I don't know, they're just not a team that strikes me as someone who would go after a guy like Le'Veon Bell, all right? So, I mean, really, the only realistic options, I guess you could say, if Le'Veon Bell was to leave, is San Francisco or the Jets, I guess you could say. Not even the Jets, the Colts. But like I said, I mean, the Colts really don't do that stuff. So, honestly, now that I've looked at it and thought about it, it's going to be either Le'Veon Bell, honestly, he's probably just going to get franchise tagged. He's probably going to sit out the year. But if Pittsburgh's smart, then they'll pay him. I don't see Le'Veon Bell leaving Pittsburgh. Again, this is all just hypotheticals if he were. But, I mean, the only true realistic spot for Le'Veon Bell if he were to leave is to go to San Francisco. So, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. But, like I said, I don't see him leaving Pittsburgh. It's either he's going to get an extension or they're going to franchise him. So, we'll see how it all ends up. Now, let's talk about the NFL draft. All right, let's talk about what prompted me to talk about the NFL draft, primarily the quarterbacks. I saw Mel Kiper's, one of his first mock drafts, his latest one, I should say. And as we know, or as we think we know, the Browns are going to end up taking a quarterback with their first pick. All right? Majority of writers and reporters and all those college football draft scouts and all that have said it's either probably going to end up being Sam Darnold as the number 1 pick. Mel Kiper thinks otherwise. Mel Kiper thinks that it's going to be Josh Allen. And that would be the ultimate Cleveland Browns move if they draft Josh Allen. Okay, as you saw this year, Hugh Jackson can't develop a quarterback. All right, Deshaun Kaiser is pretty much Josh Allen from Deshaun Kaiser this past season is pretty much Josh Allen this season if he goes to the Browns. Okay, Deshaun Kaiser has tools. All right, he's got the ability to become a good quarterback, I guess you could say, but He's raw. And Hugh Jackson just simply couldn't develop him. All right, did not help. I guess you could say Kaiser did get better towards the end of the season when Josh Gordon got back, but I mean, it still really wasn't that good. They still couldn't pull out a win or anything like that. And I think that Josh Allen is even more of a project than Deshaun Kaiser was. So how do you expect a guy like Hugh Jackson, who flip-flopped from during the middle of the season between quarterbacks, how do you expect him to develop a guy like Josh Allen? I don't even think, Josh Allen isn't even the most NFL-ready quarterback out of Darnold and Rosen, so I don't see why you go Josh Allen with your number one pick. Cleveland needs to hit on a quarterback, and they need this quarterback to be successful from the start. All right, not like winning a bunch of games and stuff like that, but showing that you know what, they finally have something there. Josh Allen's a project. All right, this season for Wyoming, he was injured for about a few games, I guess. I believe he only completed 56% of his passes. All right, when he was playing, he threw for less than 2,000 yards, only 6.7 yards per attempt, 16 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Those numbers are down from his 2016 year where he threw for, again, 56% completion percentage, but he did have over 3,000 yards, had 8.6 yards per attempt, 28 touchdowns, and did throw 15 picks. All right, I don't see the hype around Josh Allen. He's one of those guys that scouts and reporters say he's the guy that looks good throwing in shorts and a t-shirt. All right, I just don't see it happening for him in Cleveland, and I don't understand why Cleveland would even draft him, especially given that he's just a project. All right, let's talk Sam Darnold. I think this is the guy Cleveland's going to go with, but I don't think he's the best quarterback in the draft. All right, but this past season, Darnold had completed 63% of his passes, had over 4,000 yards, did throw for 26 touchdowns, but threw for 13 interceptions also. All right, Darnold's got to learn how to not turn the ball over. I think he had 22 total turnovers. I think it was 9 fumbles, I believe. All right, so he's got to learn how to not turn the ball over, but I'd still take him over Josh Allen if I'm Cleveland. All right, but like I said, I don't even think he's the best quarterback in the draft. I believe the best quarterback in the draft is Josh Rosen. I feel like Josh Rosen is the most NFL ready, and he's capable of making like big time throws. If you seen that game against if you watched that game against Texas A&M early on in the college football season when they were down, what was it, like 42-14 or something like that, and they ended up coming back. I mean, Rosen was making some big time throws right there. He was playing well. Like I said, he's very accurate, and he's a big time quarterback right there. He's a good playmaker from playing quarterback. All right, this year he had completed 62% of his passes, had over 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, only 10 interceptions. All right, if I'm Cleveland, I'm taking this guy, but I think they're going Darnold, so he's probably going to end up on a team like the Giants, sit behind Eli Manning for 2 years, and I think he's going to be a really good quarterback in the future. Now let's talk about the 2 wild card quarterbacks, all right? The quarterbacks that people are really iffy about. All right, let's talk about Baker Mayfield. What do we think of him? I think he's better than Josh Allen. I think the quarterback I'm going to talk about next up after Baker Mayfield is better than Josh Allen. All right, but people are going to disagree because, like I said, Josh Allen's 6'4", all right, and he looks good throwing the ball in shorts. All right, that's what it is. That's what's going to get him drafted in the top 5. All right, so Baker Mayfield, obviously Heisman winner, threw for over 4,000 yards, had 43 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Also completed 70% of his passes. All right, you know what? I did say Josh Rosen is the best quarterback coming into this draft. I still believe it, but I did not notice that Baker Mayfield's numbers were that good. All right, played extremely well against the Georgia defense too in the semifinal game. Georgia defense that only gave up 13 points a game this season. All right, and Baker Mayfield put 48 on him. So, I mean, Baker Mayfield, he's not going to go top 5, I don't think. I don't even think he'll go top 10. But I think he's going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. Because he's probably going to end up on a team like Washington maybe. Or maybe after Washington needs a quarterback, they're in the mid-teens drafting. Miami needs a quarterback. That might be someone that, if Miami picks up Baker Mayfield, then that might be it for Ryan Tannehill unless he plays he's a starter going into the season, and then after that, I mean, they bench him. But Dolphins might be going after a quarterback. I'm not too sure about it, though. Redskins, who else am I missing? I think that's it for teams in the mid-teens. Maybe a team like Buffalo. They definitely need a quarterback. So if Baker Mayfield would have fought to Buffalo, you might see him end up out there. All right. Now let's talk Lamar Jackson. The guy that, according to everyone, should become a wide receiver. I don't understand that. I don't get why. All right. Lamar Jackson, I think let's look at his stats first off, all right? In 2017, all right, he had completed only 59% of his passes, so he's not the most accurate quarterback. Still better than Josh Allen's, though. Threw for over 3,000 yards, 3,500 yards, had 27 touchdowns, only 10 interceptions, all right? Rushing the ball, he had over 1,500 yards, had 18 touchdowns, all right? This is a dual threat type of quarterback right here, and I feel like he's going to go in the late first round, I feel. Maybe second round, but he's going to end up on a team who's already got solid players that they could surround around him. Or maybe he'll go to a team that already has a quarterback, but they're going to need one for the future. Maybe a team like the New Orleans Saints. That might be a little sleeper team for Lamar Jackson right there. So, as if I had to rank them right now, I'd go Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson, then Josh Allen. But if I had to go with quarterbacks taken off the board in order, I'm going to go Darnold, Rosen, Allen, then it'd be Mayfield and Jackson being the last. But I think Josh Allen is probably I can't say worst, because, the one with the least NFL-ready quarterback, I feel, is Josh Allen, all right? So that's all I got to say about that. Next up, we're going to be talking about teams who surprised, players who surprised, teams who disappointed, and players who disappointed in the NFL this season. All right, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Alrighty, welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Alright, last segment we talked about Le'Veon Bell, where he could end up if he was a free agent. Turns out I don't think there's really too many realistic options for him, except for the San Francisco 49ers. Alright, so I said he's either going to be staying at Pittsburgh with an extension, or they're going to franchise him and he's just going to sit out this year. I kind of want to see them franchise him just to see if Le'Veon Bell is going to sit out. But that's just me. All right, so like I said, we're going to have to wait and see how it all ends up for him. We talked about the NFL draft, talked about each quarterback. I ranked my quarterbacks. I said Josh Rosen is my number one quarterback. Again, these are all opinions, too. I'm not no draft expert or anything like that. All right, so I got Rosen as my number one quarterback, then Baker Mayfield, then Darnold, then Lamar Jackson, and then Josh Allen. All right, so that's who I have there. I think Darnold's going to end up going number one to the Cleveland Browns. Mel Kiper says otherwise, but I really haven't put too much stock into what Mel Kiper has said for probably the last 5 years. All right, so now we're going to talk about players and teams already in the NFL. We're going to talk about teams who surprised, who disappointed, players who surprised, and also players who disappointed. So let's start off with the most obvious, I guess, for teams who, or for players who surprised. Case Keenum. All right, if you would have told me week one, Sam Bradford's going to get hurt, Case Keenum's going to lead the Vikings to the NFC Championship game and probably be favored in that game, then I would have told you, you're crazy. No chance. Vikings are done because it's Case Keenum. All right, turns out that wasn't the case. Case Keenum has been lights out so far this season. Not even, I don't want to talk like he's been like the best quarterback in the league by any means, but I mean, the guy did throw for nearly 3,500 yards, I believe it was. Had 22 touchdowns and only threw 7 interceptions. All right, yeah, the Vikings' success is more about their defense also, but like I said, no one expected this from Case Keenum. No one expected him to be this good. No one expected the guy who didn't really get a shot with Houston. All right, and even when he did play, didn't really look all too good. No one expected him to do anything, and no one expected the guy who started for Jeff Fisher at the Rams to do anything. All right, but here he goes to Minnesota, and I'm not sure if it's Pat Shurmur who fixed him up, or he's just really been this good. And like I said, Jeff Fisher. I mean, I can understand why you don't play well for Jeff Fisher. I'm like number one in the Jeff Fisher anti-fan club. All right, I'll always be that. The guy ruined Vince Young. And he made Jared Goff and the Rams look terrible last season. But that's a story for a different day. All right, let's not bring Jeff Fisher into this. Okay, but like I said, no one really expected Case Keenum to go out and play this well. I sure as heck didn't. And here he is, NFC Championship game, probably going to end up playing in the Super Bowl. All right, and if Case Keenum wins the Super Bowl by some chance, Case Keenum is going to get at least $20 million a year from some NFL team for about 4 years. All right. This is Case Keenum's opportunity to cash out. Because if he doesn't win the Super Bowl, and let's say that they lose to Philly, but Case Keenum plays all right, he's still going to get paid, but it's only going to be around $15 million, I think. The guy wins the Super Bowl, he's going to get locked up long term, and he's going to get $20 million a year. So if I'm Case Keenum, I'm trying my hardest to go out and win the Super Bowl. Obviously he is, but just imagine, he's nearly 30. He's going to get a big contract. He probably didn't think he was going to get that a huge contract like this playing for the Texans or Rams because he wasn't playing well. But nonetheless, Case Keenum, one of the most surprising players this season. Anyone else who's surprised, really? I mean, I guess you could say the rookies, Alvin Kamara and Kareem Hunt, surprised. I'm not sure anyone expected them to be as good as they were. Alvin Kamara was number one, I think, in rookie receptions with 88. He probably had to have been near all running backs with receptions. Let's see. Yeah, pretty much those two guys are there. As far as teams who surprised, I guess you could say the Jacksonville Jaguars. No one expected them to be playing the AFC Championship game. All right, I didn't for sure. I mean, I had the idea that, you know what, no quarterback, no deal. All right, but teams so far have shown that you don't need a quarterback to be successful. And I think, like I said, I talked about it on Tuesday's football podcast. GSMC football podcast, by the way. Go ahead and check that out. But talked about how the NFL is trending towards the running back again and trending towards having a great defense. All right, because look at, you got teams like the Eagles with Nick Foles. All right, yeah, Carson Wentz played most of the season, but nonetheless, Nick Foles had to go out and win a couple of games. Then you got Case Keenum leading the Vikings in the NFC Championship, and then you got Blake Bortles playing in the AFC Championship. All right, you can't tell me it takes a quarterback to get you this far now. I've always thought that having a great defense was the number one thing to do, and having a solid running game was right after that. All right, because quarterbacks, unless you get a guy like Aaron Rodgers or a Drew Brees type or anyone like that, I mean, you're really gonna need to have a solid team around him. I mean, how good do you think Matt Ryan honestly would be if he didn't have guys like Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman, Mohamed Sanu around him? Honestly, he'd probably still be okay, pretty good, but he wouldn't be as good as he is now. He probably wouldn't have won an MVP. Okay, let's see. Who else? I'm drawing a blank. Andrew Luck is a surefire top 5 quarterback when he plays. I mean, just look, he took that Colts team to the AFC Championship. I could have been playing receiver on that team. Who else, man? There's got to be some other quarterbacks. I mean, Cam Newton. Cam Newton's one of those quarterbacks who, I'll give it to him. He's not very accurate, and I knock him for that, but he does well to make players around him better. But I mean, nonetheless, I mean, you really just need to always put around a solid team around your quarterback because he's going to struggle unless you got guys like those two that I named, not counting Matt Ryan. All right. So like I said, Blake Bortles, or the Jaguars, one of the more surprising teams this season, built an all-world defense. All right. Have one of the best running backs in the league already as a rookie. And this rookie running back class, I guess you could say that's one of the surprising things too. Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt, Alvin Kamara. Are there any running backs I'm missing? Rookie running backs I'm missing? I think those are the biggest 3 right there. Those guys were all top 10 running backs this season. All right, this rookie class actually was really good. But like I said, those 3 running backs right here were top 10. I don't think anyone expected Alvin Kamara to do too much. I mean, let's go disappointment right here. Let's talk about disappointment. Let's talk about Adrian Peterson so we can talk about Kamara some more, all right? So Adrian Peterson went to the Saints, and people thought he was going to be probably splitting time with Mark Ingram. And he didn't. He lost his I guess you could say, backup job to Alvin Kamara and didn't do anything there. All right, gets traded to the Cardinals. Does have that 154-yard rushing game, I think it was, or 134. And after that, really just was injured and didn't do much. This is the beginning of the end for Adrian Peterson. And that's sad to say for me because Adrian Peterson is probably my favorite running back of all time and one of my favorite players of all time. I mean, the guy's a beast, but it's disappointing to see that he went down so far. All right, disappointing team. I've been saying it over and over, and I'll continue to say it today. The Oakland Raiders, by far, were the most disappointing team this season. All right, you could put Amari Cooper right up there with disappointing players. Amari Cooper didn't know how to catch the ball this season. I mean, you could say the whole receiving core had trouble catching the ball, but I mean, I'm going to single out Amari Cooper because I feel like he's the number one receiver on that team, and he should have played a whole lot better than how he did this season. As far as the Raiders go, I mean, everyone was telling me, oh, they're going to the AFC Championship, they're going to challenge the Patriots, they might be Super Bowl contenders, and no one told me that they had a terrible defense. No one told me that they couldn't stop anyone with that defense. All right, it was just brutal to watch. They might end up taking Roquan Smith in the draft this season. That's going to be huge for them. All right, having a guy like him and Khalil Mack on your defense could be game changing. All right, they got to hope a team like Miami doesn't trade ahead of them though, because that's right there. Oakland's probably going to end up with the 10th or 9th pick, and Miami currently has the 11th. So if I'm Miami and I know I need a running back, I'm going to trade ahead. But nonetheless, like I said, the Raiders were just extremely disappointing this season. Derek Carr didn't play well. I think that's more due to the fact that he only missed 1 week after fracturing his back. I saw Raider fans on Twitter love to kill him about it and talk about how he was one of the reasons why, and he played extremely poor, and how the contract they gave him was terrible because look how he played this season. I mean, look into it in some context. I mean, Derek Carr played great last season. Probably would have maybe made the AFC Championship last season if Derek Carr doesn't get hurt. And like I said, he fractured his back this season. You can't expect a guy who fractures his back and only miss 1 week and expect him to be all good and 100% playing well. That's not the case. So I think they need to think about that. As far as my most disappointing team in the NFC, that's clear too. That's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, everyone thought that they'd be a playoff contender and Jameis Winston was going to take the next step as a quarterback. Neither of those things happened. Tampa Bay, I'm not sure if it's because they had to play 16 straight games or it's just because Dirk Cutter is just not that good of a coach. But nonetheless, Tampa Bay was extremely disappointing this season and couldn't get it done at all. Jameis Winston, very disappointed in the way he played this season. Like I said, he's a good quarterback, but he just makes way too many mistakes, and that's what's keeping him from being a great quarterback. I think next season will be better for him. All right, Mike Evans didn't play well this season. Deshaun Jackson was a bit of a disappointment too, and that secondary was brutal. So I'm sure Tampa Bay's going to end up taking a cornerback or a safety in the first round of the draft. But like I said, I mean, Tampa Bay was extremely disappointing. They probably should be more disappointing than the Raiders, because I feel like the Raiders' expectations as far as AFC Championship and possible Super Bowl contenders were a little high, and how do you say? They were over. I don't know what the right word I'm looking for, but they were just they were unrealistic. I think that picking the Raiders as a team who could play in the AFC Championship, could knock off the Patriots, could be that team that takes over. I think that was unrealistic to say, because like I said, they had a young defense, and this defense just was brutal, and I'm sure Raider fans had to have known it, or the front office had to have known it. But like I said, they were putting up the hype that this was going to be an AFC Championship type team this season. But I mean, in realistic terms, probably should have looked more towards the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as being the most disappointing team in the NFL this season. Like I said, Jameis Winston really needs to cut down the turnovers. He just couldn't get out of his own way this season playing quarterback for the Bucs. But I think next season will be different. I think it'll be different for the Raiders too. So again, those were my surprising players and teams, and then those were my disappointing players and teams. That's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking NHL, how they market their game and how they're terrible at promoting. We're going to talk NBA, make my picks for today, and talk about anything else going on in the world of sports. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Alright, welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This is the last segment of the show, and we're going to be talking NHL, making my picks for the NBA, talking about a certain someone who missed practice today before their big AFC Championship game, and we're going to be talking a little LeBron James. Alright? Let's start off with the NHL. These are quick little points I have to make. All right, it's not going to take too long. It's not going to take up the whole segment by any means, but I got some stuff to say. So the NHL, one of the four major sports, you could say, or it is the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, and then the NHL, okay? The NHL should be, I don't think it'll ever be above the NBA and NFL, but it should be above baseball. All right, it isn't, but it should be as far as ratings, money, and all that stuff. All right, the NHL, I think personally, let me say this, all right, professionally, I think that NHL athletes are the best athletes out of comparing them to the NFL athletes, comparing them to NBA athletes, and definitely comparing them to MLB athletes, all right? The NHL has the best athletes in the world, all right? For them to have to go out there, have the endurance to be able to skate on that ice, all right? Because I'll tell you this, skating can make you tired if you're out there doing it. The same way you play basketball, it'll get you tired if you're out there doing it constantly back to back, all right? And the NHL and NBA are probably the two most fast-paced leagues out of the four majors, all right? Four major ones, all right? So you got to be able to do that, be able to be graceful enough to be able to move, cut, all that stuff, all right? But you also got to be big enough to keep up with the physicality of it, okay? They have the quickness of the NBA players, and yeah, you could tell me, oh, they're on skates. You try to go out there and skate, and let me know how it works out for you. It's difficult. I'll tell you that much. I've tried it. Don't need to do it again because I'm no good at it. All right, so like I said, best athletes out of the four major sports, okay, have a game called the Winter Classic, which is played about 6 times a year. That's got to stop. Winter Classic should only be on January 1st, and they need to make it a bigger deal. All right, the owners messed up by having the professional NHL athletes not playing the Olympics. Okay, by doing that, you're taking away the casual fan. I'm probably going to watch it still. All right, but like I said, the casual fan's not going to care because you don't got guys like Alex Ovechkin playing. You don't got guys like Sidney Crosby playing, okay? So that's there. And then, like I said, they just do not promote well enough at all. They do not grow the game. This game, the NHL, it's not for everyone, but I'll tell you this much. Going to a game, all right, since I live in Sacramento area, I get to go to a couple Sharks games. Haven't gone to any so far this season. Haven't really paid attention to it that much. But like I said, going to a live NHL game is probably the funnest live game experience out of the NFL, MLB, and basketball game for me, all right? I've done all. I've seen the Celtics play the Kings. I've seen the Dolphins play the Raiders. I've seen them play the 49ers a few times. And I've seen the Red Sox play the A's, the Giants. I've seen the Giants play a couple other teams. And by the way, AT&T Park is by far the best baseball stadium in all of the league. All right. But nonetheless, like I said, the NHL just does poorly to promote the league, and they should be bigger than what they are right now. So, I mean, the NHL really needs to figure it out, but I'm not sure they are going to. So I think that's just what I want to say, my little thoughts right there. NHL, learn how to promote better, all right? It should be bigger than what it is, but I guess that's up to the commissioner, I guess, to fix all that. So let's talk about a guy who missed practice today. Let's talk about Tom Brady. Missed practice today with a hand injury. Today meaning Thursday. All right, games on Sunday. You got Friday, Saturday, and then boom, you have games on Sunday. So that's 2 more rest days. All right, he's not missing practice on a Monday, Tuesday. He's missing it on a Thursday. He's probably going to end up being fine, but isn't that a little concerning that Tom Brady's missing practice because of a hand injury? I'm sure, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Okay, I'm sure Bill Belichick or Tom Brady said, you know what, I'm not practicing. It's not a big deal, but just let the hand heal, you know? But either way, for a quarterback to have a hand injury the couple days before the AFC title game, I feel like it could be a little bit concerning. All right? Especially going up against the defense like the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, they have the best defense in the league, and if you're Tom Brady, you need to be completely healthy, ready to go in order to beat a defense like this. So again, it's probably nothing to worry about, but it might be a little concerning that Tom Brady missed practice with a hand injury. Like I said, it's probably nothing. He'll probably be fine, but nonetheless, it's concerning. All right, so that's what I had to say about that. Now let's talk about LeBron James a bit. And all right, so I'm talking about this because I was looking through ESPN's website and I saw a little article link for a video or whatever. That's one thing too. We need to go back to writing articles. All right, enough with the video. That's not the next big thing. All right, the next big thing, I guess you could say, besides writing, is doing podcasts. I might be a little biased saying that, but podcasts, I think, are the next big thing. Not watching videos. All right, I get people stream stuff now as far as like TV, like people going away from TV and streaming stuff. But me personally, I want to get my content from an article, I'd rather read it. I don't want to listen to someone talking. All right, as far as a short little video about something. All right, write me an article about how Markelle Fultz. Yeah, that's another thing too. These things are just coming to my mind. Yeah, write me an article about how Markelle Fultz, this whole shoulder situation is bigger than what it is. I don't need a video. I don't need to hear Stephen A. Smith talking about it because I don't like what Stephen A. Smith has to say usually. All right, give me an established writer from ESPN and have him write about it. All right, this is why Fox News, I think, or Fox Sports has really never hit that jump that they expected to, because why? They got rid of all their writers and they pivoted to video. I think that was a bad idea. All right, like I said, me personally, I'm sure the majority of other people might agree that they'd rather get their news from an article rather than a video. But that's just my 2 cents on it. So, like I said, going back to it though, to my original point about LeBron James, Stephen A. Smith said something about how he's already making excuses. Because if you saw what LeBron James said, he said to reporters, I think after practice, that this is one of his most difficult seasons. So Stephen A. Smith is saying that LeBron shouldn't be making excuses, okay, about it already for him possibly not making it to the finals this year. And did you hear what I just said too? Did you notice what I was saying? I said LeBron making it to the finals, him making it to the finals. I think that's the biggest problem that we have in sports, specifically the NBA too right now. The NBA is more, we talk about, oh, this guy didn't get to the finals. This player didn't get to the finals. No, we shouldn't be doing that. We should be talking, all right, this team didn't get to the finals. This team struggled. All right. The NBA is one thing. That's one thing I don't like about it, is they make it too individual. It's too individualistic. They put it all on one player. Because if you look, LeBron James is probably having one of his best seasons ever. But if he doesn't make it to the finals, that doesn't matter. All right. It shouldn't be like that. All right. We shouldn't put making the finals on one player. Whether even talking about the Warriors, okay? When you're talking about the Warriors, for them not making the finals, like for them making the finals, we should be talking about how great of a team they have. All right, why is it with the Warriors we talk about their team, and with the Cavs it's always about LeBron? All right. Oh, by the way, just got a notification. Kind of brutal for the game, but Kyrie Irving's not playing against the Sixers tonight. You heard it here, probably second. I'm not sure when this podcast is dropping, but you heard it here. All right, but going back to my point, we need to start being more consistent as far as talking teams going to the finals rather than individual players going to the finals. We don't talk about solely Kyrie Irving getting to the finals with Celtics. We talk about Brad Stevens. We talk about the entire team. All right? I don't get why, like, LeBron James has always been like a weird figure in basketball. Like, he's so loved, but he's also so hated. It's crazy. All right? Me, personally, I like LeBron James. Think he's one of the best players of all time. Probably, when it's all said and done, going to be the best player of all time. People don't like him, and the reason why people don't like LeBron is because they say he's a crybaby. They don't use stats or anything like that. So I think the NBA just as a whole needs to be more consistent as far as talking about teams making it to the finals rather than individual players. All right? We need to start using stats and using our heads more. All right? And you know what? Sports media needs to start writing more articles and stop putting out so many videos. All right? I said, the next big thing is podcasts, but it's not little short videos about telling me that someone's going to be out of a game. I don't want to see that. Just give me a notification right about it. That's better. But now, that's all I got to say about that. Now we're going to be making my picks for the games going on tonight. We only have 4 games. Like I said, Kyrie Irving not playing tonight against the Philadelphia 76ers. Going to be sitting this one out. So that means, if I had to make a guess, it's probably going to be Marcus Smart filling in for him as a starter. All right, so with that known, between the 76ers playing Boston on TNT at 4 o'clock, I got the Celtics. They're at home. They're still a better team than the Sixers with Kyrie Irving not playing. I'll tell you that much, all right? Sixers have struggled. Joel Embiid specifically has struggled against the Celtics so far this season. I'm not sure if it's because Al Horford does well guarding him or Brad Stevens just draws a good game plan for him. All right, but either way, I got the Celtics. The 76ers have struggled both times playing the Celtics this year. So, like I said, I got the Celtics. As for the Magic and Cavaliers, I mean, both teams play terrible defense. Both teams have the worst defenses in the East, so I'm going with the Cavs because they have a better offense. I think that's solid logic right there. All right, then at 6:30 on TNT, we have the Timberwolves facing off with the Houston Rockets. I think James Harden might be back for this one. Gerald Green, Trevor Ariza are suspended. I'm going to go with this is tough. I want to go with the Timberwolves, but yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with should I go with the Rockets, you guys? Let's go. I'm going to go the Rockets. That's my gut pick. I'm going to go with the Rockets, I guess. Yeah, I don't feel good about it, but I'm going with the Rockets. And as for the late game, tonight we got the Indiana Pacers facing off with the Trailblazers. I'm going with the Pacers. Trailblazers won the other day. All right, they beat the Suns. So, like I said, the Trailblazers are one of the most inconsistent teams in the league, so I'm going with the Pacers. I'm going with Victor Oladipo. All right, I'm going to recap my picks for you before we end the show. Got the Celtics beating the Sixers. Again, no Kyrie in that one. Got the Cavs beating the Magic, the Rockets beating the Timberwolves, and the Pacers beating the Trailblazers. All right. Like I said, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. First up, we talked about the NBA games from Wednesday. Second, we talked about Le'Veon Bell, where he could end up. Talked about the quarterbacks in the upcoming draft. Talked about the most surprising and most disappointing teams and players in the third segment. And for this one, we did pretty much, this was like a Jesse's Thoughts type of segment. Gave my thoughts on the NHL and them promoting the game. Talked about LeBron. Talked about Tom Brady missing practice today with a hand injury. And we talked about my picks. So, like I said, that's going to wrap it up for the GSMC Sports Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. We'll be back tomorrow making picks for the upcoming NFL championship games. So stay tuned, and we'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.